All right, welcome everyone. We're here with Dan Locke, who is a businessman, investor, entrepreneur, and business coach. And we're here today talking to him about education, what's possible for education, and what he thinks could be included in education to help kids achieve more and become the best they can be. So thanks for being with me today, Dan.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right, so my first question for you is, what was your education like, and where did you go to school?
Well, I came to Canada when I was 14 years old, and at the time, because my mom and dad had some issues, unfortunately at the time my dad had an affair, so my mom decided that she didn't want to stay in a relationship, and that's why we immigrated to Canada. I was born in Hong Kong.
Okay.
So when I first came here, I went to, of course, ESL school, English as a second language. I went to those schools for a while, and then I went to high school, and I went to a school in Surrey called Gifford Park.
Okay.
And at the time, I was one of the only 3 Chinese in my school. And unfortunately, the kids at the school, they were not very nice.
Okay.
They teased me, they made fun of me, made fun of my accent, made fun of the way I look. They beat me up a couple times. People talk about bullying issues in school. Well, it is true. Yeah, it happens. And so at the time going through high school, so I was a loner all the way through high school. Didn't have a lot of friends. And so growing up, I didn't have a lot of self-confidence. Growing up, I didn't have not high self-esteem, had very low self-esteem. And didn't like school that much because of the experience. So I would skip classes, and I would barely pass all my courses, like kind of a C minus student.
Okay.
But because of my mom, so I had to kind of stay through the school, then to a point where then I went to college. I went to Douglas College.
What were you taking?
Different courses, general business.
Okay.
But at the time I was already starting my own business and my own companies. So then I thought to myself, well, I'm going to school learning business, or I'm doing business. I still remember there was a instructor, professor in the business class. I would challenge him all the time because he was talking about stuff from textbook, and I would challenge him, well, how do you know this stuff works? How do you know this is how business works?
Right.
Well, it doesn't matter. You study the book, you pass the grades. But from my point of view, well, have you started a business? Do you know what it's like to run a business? Which, of course, he hasn't.
Right.
And it's a big problem for me. So we always have this conflict. Of course, he didn't like me so much, and Phil. And then finally, I just thought, well, you know what? This is not for me. Maybe it's for other people, not for me. So I just dropped out of college.
I think, to me, like, what is important about that is experience, right? And that the education that this professor was trying to give you was not
Correct.
from his experience.
Correct.
Right? And I think that's one thing that I feel education could improve on.
And a lot of the school system, what they teach, it's out of date.
Right.
Okay, they're teaching stuff from 5-10 years ago. It's not stuff from the real world. After being in business for so many years, in fact, I believe if you actually study the stuff from school on business, on marketing, when you go out to the real world, just do the opposite, and you do very well.
Okay.
Use it as a reverse role model. Use a reverse blueprint.
Do you mind giving us an example? Because I can't imagine what that would be.
Well, example, they talk about, getting, financing a business, getting loans from the banks, getting money and raising money. Well, if you're as an entrepreneur, if you ever try to raise money with no background, no experience, nothing, well, try to go to the bank. How the bank system works is this. They loan you money when you don't need money.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
when it's raining, then they give you the umbrella. They don't give you the umbrella. When it's sunny, they give you the umbrella. So it's the same thing. When I was getting started, young guy, and I went to the bank, I said, I want to start my own business. Can you loan me some money? They say, you crazy? Of course, no way in hell I'm going to loan you any money. But when you have money, guess what do they do now today? Calling me and say, hey, Dan, do you need a bigger line of credit? Do you need a new mortgage? Do you need all that? When you don't need their money, then they want to loan you some. It's exactly how it works.
Okay.
But in the school system, It doesn't teach you that. It doesn't teach you how to deal the stress you're gonna have, the pressure you're gonna have to deal with, the headaches, the hassle, the inconvenience, the setback, the rejection you're gonna experience as a businessman, as an entrepreneur. They don't talk about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
When that's the most important things, those most important things we have to master as an entrepreneur, how to face obstacles.
Yeah.
Years ago, my business mentor, we were having a conversation, and he asked me the question. He said, Dan, what do you think is the number one characteristic of an entrepreneur? The most important characteristic of an entrepreneur? And I said, well, I guess intelligence, it could be experience, expertise, contacts, whatever. I said a whole bunch of answers. And he said, well, all those are important. But he said the number one characteristic of a successful entrepreneur is this, is the ability to endure pain for a long period of time. The ability to endure pain for a long period of time. And I thought to myself, wow, how true is that? That most entrepreneurs, people look at me as, oh, I'm the overnight success. Well, keep in mind, I started my first company when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I failed at 13 businesses having my first success. So if you say it's an overnight success, well, it's more like a 10-year overnight success.
That's
But
right.
when you're successful, nobody looks at that. Nobody talks about your failure. Everybody talks about your success. In fact, nobody remembers your failure. They only talk about your success. So I think the school system, I mean, think, very simple. Let me give you an example, Ryan. In school, if we are taking an exam, and you're sitting next to me, and I'm writing it down, and I'm taking my exam, and I don't know the answers, and hey, Ryan, show me the answer. What do you think is this the answer to this question to be? It's called what?
Cheating.
It's called, right? Guess what? In the business world, that's called teamwork.
Yeah.
Okay? So in the business world, we learn from our mistakes. But in school, we punish students for making mistakes.
Right.
But in business, it's all about, hey, you know what? Let's get this product to the marketplace. Let's fail fast. Let's test it out. If it doesn't work, let's not waste our time. Let's move forward. It's about failing fast.
Right.
In school, the school system punishes students for making mistakes. So guess what? When they go out to the real world, oh, I don't want to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't want to screw this up. And they stop progressing. They stop learning new things.
Would you say that that is kind of characteristic of what you might consider like the employee mentality
Yes,
versus
what's the
the
entire,
entrepreneur?
I mean, you can talk about the history of the school system, how that all started. It's basically a group of wealthy individuals, and you notice why they donate to all this library and all that. If you actually study school history, how the whole system came about, it's all these industrialists, all these tycoons.
Right. Wanting to make workers.
That's correct.
Yeah.
They want to, hey, guys, we need some workers, man. Well, let's donate some school. Let's produce like assembly line. Let's produce some workers. Let's make sure we educate them not to be like us. We don't want to encourage entrepreneurship. We want them to, be programmed and conditioned to have the safe, secure job, have the safety net. That let's sell them on the idea of the 40-year plan, the 45-year plan. That they work until 65 and then they retire, and then we give them the retirement, and then so we have steady workers, laborers working for us.
Right.
That's how it came about. It's very, very simple. It's a group of guys, wealthy individuals saying, hey, let's do this.
Yeah.
That's how. So why would the school system encourage you to take risk? Why would the school system to encourage you to think outside the box? That's not the intention. Not at all.
Well, I like that. I mean, I think that's a pretty truthful message.
Yes.
I think that's going to be a pretty big message for some people. All right, so I guess my next question that I had here was, what do you see as the purpose of education then?
I think the purpose of education, because I believe all types of knowledge ultimately leads to self-knowledge, is to understand yourself. what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What is your purpose? What kind of value are you here to contribute to the world? Not just make a living. Not just make a living. I think the education system should teach students and individuals realize, hey, what are our gifts? How can we make the world a better place? How can we deliver value to the marketplace? How can we be the best that we could be? Not just academically. Because right now, again, the school system, if you're not good with memorizing things, if you're not good at math, oh, then you're a bad student. But now there's so many research out there, people can Google on the internet, there's so many different forms of intelligence. Not everybody's meant to do just be an accountant or be a lawyer. What if the person has talents to be a dancer, to be an athlete, to be a singer, to be an inventor, to be whatever? But now we just think of, again, still the school system is still, okay, one form of intelligence, when we know for a fact there's so many forms of intelligence. But how come we don't nurture those?
Right.
How come we don't encourage students to develop those skills and talents? Again, goes back to the original idea of the school system. And people recognize that, and people, I believe, they're changing that. On the YouTube now, you have the Kang University, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why it's like exploding. People say, you know what? It's a better way to learn. There's a faster way to learn. There's a more effective way to learn. There's a more fun way to learn. And people recognizing that. Also, more people are now doing homeschooling because they don't want their kids to be poisoned by the whole school system. They want, you know what, I'm going to take care of my own kids' education. I'm going to teach them, learn how to write, learn how to speak, learn the basics, but the important education, I'm going to educate my kids, what they need to learn to survive and prosper in the real world.
I like that. So, getting back, I guess, a little bit to your experience in the school system, how do you think that the school system helped you, and how do you think it hindered you?
I think it hindered me more than it helped me. Well, but I didn't stay in the system too long.
Right.
And even back when I was in school, I learned how to write and then how to, the basic, how to calculate 1 + 1 and all that. It's all good. But quite frankly, a lot of stuff that I learned, unless you want to be a scientist or anything, chemistry classes, calculus classes, I don't use those things.
That's right.
95% of what we learn, we don't use. So from my own experience, I actually developed my skills and acquired knowledge through other forms, i.e. reading books, i.e. attending educational workshops and seminars, learning from just talking to people, talking to successful people, learning from my personal mentors. I found those are better ways to learn. I'm not a guy that likes to sit in a classroom and this professor lectures for 2 hours and I'm trying to stay awake and I'm just falling asleep. I can't learn that way. And that's also why you've been to my workshops, and I like to be interactive. I like to make it fun. I like people to be engaged. I like people to think of their own answers. I like them to participate.
Right.
So as a speaker and now as also a trainer, you could say, that's what I like to do, because I believe people learn better through participation, through activity, through games, through interaction.
Well, that's a perfect lead into my next question, which is that schools today usually use a lecture-style approach.
Yes.
How do you think that students need to be taught?
I think it's through instead of just giving them the answers, hey, you should do this, and you do this, and you remember A, B, C, and D, but now we know there's so many possibilities. What do you think? Let them interact. Let them come up with things. And what are the different things we can solve, what different ways we can solve this problem? And have them discuss, have them brainstorm, have them play games, have them engage with different activities. So instead of, example, okay, well, here's how you build a company. Here's how you build a business. Textbook, okay, number one, you do this. Well, let's take them to a company. Let's visit a company. Let's visit FedEx. Let's visit Microsoft. How do they do it? Talk to a senior manager. What are the day-to-day challenges? How do you see this company grow? And what works, what doesn't work? What are the biggest mistakes you've made? I think they'll learn infinitely more that way through observation, through interaction, through questioning versus just here passive listening there. Yep, take notes, yep. You don't get anything,
Yeah.
no. And it's not fun,
No, it's not.
no.
Yeah, and then we do it for a long time.
That's correct.
So, if you could design a high school, what subjects would you include?
So many, I would include way more, I think, communication skill, because I think we are not taught, at the end of the day, it's about connecting with people, interacting with people. So I think people skills, I would add on like communication classes, public speaking classes, because I was a very shy kind of kid. Now that's tough to imagine today, but imagine back then when I was in high school,
Right.
I had two, three friends. I was very shy because my English wasn't that good, and I was very isolated. But then later on, I joined Toastmasters,
Right.
which then I learned how to speak to groups and develop my confidence. Then I could meet more people. I could enjoy the conversations more. So through public speaking, that has helped all areas of my life. So, and you see how kids are nowadays, of course, more social media,
Yeah.
digital age, and we all almost get addicted to the technology. And I love my iPhone, don't get me wrong, but we're so addicted to the technology that we don't connect with people anymore. And I think kids, teenagers nowadays, they're losing that basic people skills. You know, it's funny. Sometimes I see people in a cafe, 2, 3 friends, like this.
Yeah.
They Facebook each other. They text each other.
Right.
Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Like, can't you? They can't even have a normal conversation anymore. They don't know how to have a normal conversation anymore. I think that's not healthy.
Okay.
That's also communication, public speaking. I would definitely add some more things on if I'm running on money, or how money works, because I think it's a huge subject, and it's almost money in our society. It's labeled as it's like sex. It's not something you talk about.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, it's a bad thing.
There's a lot of values around it.
There's a lot of negativity, negative association with that subject. That you don't talk about money. Well, guess what? Most people spend our entire lives working for money.
Yeah.
We have no clue how to manage it. We have no clue how to save it. We have no clue how to invest it. So how do we get information on the subject of money? Well, mostly it's from the media, which is, guess what?
From the employee, right?
They also control
The control, yeah.
and basic control by all these companies, credit card companies, any of these companies, spend money, get into debt.
Yeah, every time like you hear on the news like that we need to boost the economy, it's always about going out spending
Spend the
more,
money.
right?
But they don't talk about, well, how do you create wealth?
Yeah.
How do you invest money? How do you manage your money properly? And that's why we have all these now, even the States, Canada, saying credit card problems, and even the government have debt issue. It's because of that attitude.
Right.
So I think money, how the world works, business, but also some creativity. Just like that's why I love TED Talk. I love TED Talk
Yeah.
because it gives you a different perspective. Hear from these great thought leaders and thinkers and leaders and genius. How do they view the world? And it could be on any subject. Isn't it fascinating?
It's amazing.
They talk
Yeah.
about all types of subjects, but just on human potential or any of these things. I think we need to be exposed to more of those. You know what? There's way more knowledge than just what you're seeing in a textbook.
Yeah.
It's just such a big world. That's what I would add. And I would probably add some travel schedule that kids would go out there and travel more and see more things and meet different cultures of people,
Okay.
not just being isolated in that little city and they don't know what the world is about. So I would do that. Yeah.
I just want to add one thing to your point about money and people being in debt is that I think that it creates a huge burden
Yes.
for all these people, right? And then there's more stress in their lives, and we're not quite sure how to get out of our debts. And so I think a lot of people struggle with that for years. And
And they don't even know how to get out.
yeah,
But guess who they learn it from? Most people, they whatever habits they have, their money management habits, they got it from the school.
Yeah.
They got it from their parents.
Yeah.
So the parents might say to the kids, hey kids, make sure it's just like from my mom, example. My mom used to sometimes say to me, when I was a kid, oh, Dan, finish a plate. Kids are starving in China or in India or in Africa. Finish a plate. You think money grows on trees? Money is the root of all evil.
Right.
All these negative associations, well, when I found out after I grew up, that's not true. So just what if the data that's that's feeding to you by your parents, just what if it's not true? What if it's the wrong data? Maybe money is not the root of all evil. Maybe lack of money is the root of all evil. Maybe money does grow on trees. Maybe money is good and not evil. Maybe is not just thinking of, well, clean your plate. Well, that doesn't help nobody. But how can maybe actually do something to help the kids in Africa? How to help the kids in China? How to help the kids in India? It's a different type of mindset, different mentality.
So, since we're on the topic of money, would you tell us a little bit about what you think we should teach in a class on money, more specifically?
I think at first, earning it, that's the first step. And there are many, many ways to earn it other than just getting a job.
Yeah.
There are many, many ways to earn it, so earning it is key. And then also, once you earn it, how do you keep it? It's one thing to make money, is a whole different thing to keep it, to save it, to manage it. Then once you learn how to save, not save money, but manage your money properly. Meaning if every dollar that comes in, maybe you put 10 cents towards your investment account,
Right.
investing in your future. You put 10% paying off your debt. You put 10% towards your own development and education. However you manage your money. After that, then how to invest money. Because I don't care what you do, as an employee, as an entrepreneur, whatever. I think nowadays, we all need to be investors. We all need to have a side investment business. How do you make the money work for us?
Right.
So we're not working for money for our entire lives. Funny thing is, people who put down money, people who have negative association with money, people who condemn the rich, the wealthy, those are the ones who are slaves to money. People who master money, they don't think money is evil. Money is just neutral. Just piece of paper. That's all. That's all it is.
Right.
It's not bad. It's like if I hold up a $100 bill, if I crumple it, I put it on the floor and I step on it, I pick it up, it's still a $100 bill. Just a piece of paper. Nothing more than an idea, if you think about it.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Whatever you can think of it as a tool. You can use it to do evil things. You can use it to do great things.
Right.
Just like a gun. You can use it to hurt people, or you can use it to protect people. It's got nothing to do with a gun. So it has nothing to do with the money. But people get it's such an emotionally charged topic.
Yeah.
We get all crazy about it.
Yeah, religion, money, politics.
All that.
Yeah.
All that.
Okay. I'm curious now because you mentioned before that about 95% of what you learned in school you feel you don't use.
Correct.
So would you then, in your opinion, get rid of a lot of what we're teaching in terms of chemistry, math?
No.
Okay.
No. But I think we need more. So, because we need scientists in school. We need doctors, we need lawyers. But we also need to nurture other talents.
Okay.
How come there isn't a class on how to be a rock star? How come there isn't a class on how to be a swimming teacher? I don't know. Like there are many, many talents, many hobbies, how to be a professional pianist. Why is it not in the school system? Why is it we just so focused on just academic intelligence and we completely ignore, and that's very, very ignorant, ignore all these other talents.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. Keep those, because there are people who like science. We need those people in our society. Great, do that. But what about, I've no interest being a scientist. Why am I spending all my time learning things that I don't like, that I hate, that I'm not even going to use? And people spend 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years of their life learning stuff you'll never use. Why not spend that 4 years learning stuff that I love, I'm passionate about, that I would love to build a career in. Why not do that? But we're so restricted to, nope, 101, 202, you got to take these courses, requirements,
Right.
mandatory. But says who?
You know, I've talked to a teacher friend of mine, and I've kind of discussed something like this, and he thinks that it's a lot of kind of insecurity,
Yes.
right? Because if we don't do that, the academic stuff, I think we're not sure if we can make it, you know, without, like if we want to do art, you know, or we want to be a dance teacher, like,
Yes.
like how are we going to do that? Like, how are we going to make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that as people, we have a hard time connecting the dots about how to get there. And I think that stops a lot of us.
But if you look at the fact, that security is an illusion. Because if there is such a thing as a security, then why are so many university graduates can't get a job? Why are so many MBAs desperate for work? Why PhDs can't even work in the lab? You tell me. So that doesn't work, especially now things are changing so fast. It doesn't work. Somebody asked me the question if they want to do business with me. Dan, do you have an MBA? And I said, well, I have an MBA, but it's not the type of MBA you think about. I have a massive bank account. You know, does that count? So marketplace pays for value.
Right.
And what determines your value is your skills. If you have skill sets that you can deliver value to the marketplace, you can produce results for people, you can solve a problem for them, the marketplace will always pay you for that. Versus now all the students, they think I have this certificate, I have this diploma, I have this degree, and this piece of paper would get me jobs.
Right.
Not true.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
It's not true. So it's an illusion. It's not true.
Yeah, it's just a receipt.
That's it. That's it. And that's almost nowadays, that's just the starting point, my friend.
Yeah.
The school starts after you graduate. But funny thing, I forgot what the numbers was, but it's like 80% of adults after they graduate from university don't read another book. Some
Yeah.
crazy numbers. Okay? So if you think about that, most people stop learning. Oh, I'm done. I graduate. Don't need to learn anything. Don't need to read another book. Don't need to educate myself. And that's the problem. It's a wrong mentality.
You know, in my opinion, that's because of we're teaching them stuff that they're not interested in.
Correct.
And I think that if we do kind of some of the things you were saying, we excite them, get them involved in stuff they enjoy.
Yes.
I don't see why kids wouldn't love it.
That's it.
And
Why
continue to do
don't
it.
we take the time as simple as when they get into the system, let's say before they go to university, instead of parents, hey, you should take this or you should take that, why not do a survey, do a test, find out what are their natural talents are, what are their personality types, what they should focus on, what they would naturally excel in. It's as simple as that. But nobody does it. They try to fit them into this box.
That's right.
It's so simple as nowadays there's so many strength, like there's a book out there called Strength Finders, a lot of different personality tests. If the person is naturally outgoing and love to talk to people, why do you, just because the parents think you should be a doctor, you should do this, or you should be a lawyer? No, I want to do something else. I want to be a traveler. I want to do all these other things. But the system doesn't allow you to do that. As simple as that. Finding out, how about just having a simple conversation, for God's sakes? What do you want? What's your vision? What inspires you? What excites you? Treat them as adult.
Right.
And I think you'll be amazed. I think a lot of students, they do know what they want, but they suppress it because the norm, because society pressure, because parents, of course. Parents. There's a certain way of, you should do this, you shouldn't do that.
Right.
But parents, same thing. You never ask, what do you want to do when you grow up? Not what my expectation for you is, but what do you truly want?
Right.
That's a very good question to ask.
I want to get into a little bit about the actual kind of planning of education now. Because, like I'm doing with you today, I'm talking with a businessman.
Yes.
And I don't think education has done that
Mm-hmm.
in a big way. I
Yeah.
think for the most part it's sort of, it's the teachers becoming administrators
Yeah.
and then going and trying to redirect the curriculum, right?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, just from your experience, who do you think we should kind of include in the discussion about where education should go?
I think just more professionals, more professionals from all types of industries that they can contribute. Example, I'm an entrepreneur, that we can contribute to the system of how can we make this better? How can we make more efficient? Even now, the whole school system, as you know, that this is the public school system. It's not rewarding. And don't get me wrong, I have a lot of respect for teachers. I'm a teacher myself,
Yeah.
a different type of teacher. But the system is not rewarding better performance. It's not rewarding creativity. The teachers are doing a lot of stuff that there's nothing to relate it with education. Bogged down by all these details and tasks, when their job is to inspire and nurture the kids, but they only spend only small amount of time because they got to do all these other things, right?
Right.
So I would say with the existing system, different professionals from all types of industries. Just imagine having a mastermind, having a brainstorm of that what could happen.
Right.
It's like TED Talk. Why is it so fascinating? Because it's all types of people, all kinds of topics. It's not you don't know what they're going to talk about.
Yeah.
You don't know what the speaker is going to say. And it's putting together the best, the most brilliant people on the planet together on a platform. And in 20 minutes, 18 minutes, 16 minutes, they share their best ideas and strategies and resources and experience. And that's why people love it.
Yeah.
That's why people, I think the school system needs to do more of that.
Beautiful. All right, so if there was one thing you think the school system needs to change right now, what would you say that is?
Wow, the one thing that needs to change. Let me think. I think just be as simple as taking the first step and being a little bit more flexible. Looking at the fact that our system, and I know a lot of teachers, they're trying to change that.
Yeah.
But because there's so much democracy, there's so much resistance they're getting. Even people want to do something, it's very difficult for them to do. They hit the resistance, they hit the wall. I say just being a little bit more flexible, looking at, hey, you know what? 5 years ago, not that many people using social media. Well, maybe there should be a class on how to use social media.
Right.
Maybe how do you deal with Facebook? How do we manage our time? How do we deal with even cyberbullying? These issues that we didn't experience many years ago, now people are experiencing every day. But the school system doesn't talk about that. So I think just being open and flexible enough that I'm not asking the school system to change like overnight, but how about just take that little step?
Right.
Let's just do that. Let's look at the fact that, you know what we're teaching guys, it's out of date. Can we maybe add this piece? Maybe how about add that piece? And maybe change a few things here. Maybe just that. And I think if we can do that, I think that builds momentum, and people can, the parents, the students, they would see a different result, a different perspective. I think that would get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I've observed, just by my experience, I've done a little bit of entrepreneurship myself, that like my attitude's changed towards wealth, and I think that it can be learned. And I'm just wondering what you think about whether or not kids can be taught about how to be wealthy, or can everyone learn to be wealthy?
100%, absolutely. It's not, think when you are born at the hospital, when you were just a baby, nobody appoints, okay, this baby is going to be wealthy, no, that baby is not going to be wealthy, oh, that baby is going to be wealthy. It's a learnable skill. It's a learnable skill. It's like swimming. It's like asking me, can everyone learn how to swim? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Almost everyone can learn how to swim. Can you learn how to ride a bike? Yeah, if give enough time with the proper training, yes. So it's the same thing with money. Now, not everyone can be an entrepreneur, because not everyone is suitable to be an entrepreneur, but everyone can be wealthy. It goes back to if you manage your money properly, you invest your money properly, everybody can accumulate a pretty good nest egg when they retire and retire comfortably. So yes, the answer is absolutely. And I think we should all learn how money works.
Very nice. We're getting pretty close to the end here. So is there anything else that's kind of on your mind that maybe I haven't brought up that you think people need to know about?
I just want to say I think it's very nice to see an ambitious, smart young man like you, it's just doing a project like this and getting out to the world, because I think people need to hear this message. And it's time that we do something about it. Maybe, who knows, maybe we cannot change the school system. It's very difficult. But maybe we can inspire enough people, we can get them to maybe make some changes in their thinking. Maybe to take more responsibility for their own education, not just formal education.
Right.
Maybe as parents, we can be a little bit more open-minded. If we have done that with this interview, I think this project is worthwhile.
Wow, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, I think that's about it.
Good.
I just want to say to Dan, thank you very much for being here today. I found it fascinating, and I'm hoping that everyone watching this will as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.